I applied Neville Goddard's Dwelling in the Wish Fulfilled, and on day 11, my company made me redundant, paid me 2 years' salary, and I landed a new and better job all in one day. Here's how I did it. I had 2 weeks off at the end of the year 2012, but I was pretty depressed. At that time, I was stuck in the same job for 16 years, and I had grown to hate it. So I made a New Year's resolution to leave the job in the upcoming year. But I knew it wasn't going to be real easy to find a new job. I planned that it would probably take 3 or 4 months before I could get a new job in hand and I quit the old one. While I was home during the Christmas vacation, I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I started revisiting some of the books I had by Neville Goddard. Each morning for 10 days, I woke up early, visualized myself making more money doing a new job which I loved, and entered a state of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I was really pumped up and generally in a positive mood about my life and the future. I tried sustaining the feeling throughout the day. I found it rather easy to do in the morning, especially when exercising. But it became harder as the day progressed. So I took a few breaks throughout the day just to relax and visualize, trying to recall the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Night I went to sleep. I felt like a baby in the arms of its mother, very secure, and I went to sleep feeling that my future was bright and I had a better job. Well, little by little, day after day, I started feeling more and more certain that I was going to be able to pull all this off. The details of how and when I was going to do it was still unclear, but I didn't doubt it at all. I noticed my certainty about my future was growing, and I was motivated like heck. When January 2nd, 2013 came along, my boss called me and asked me to come into the office early on the next day. I wasn't sure what was going on. I did notice when I got there, everyone was standing in the front of the office at 7:30 a.m., an hour before we would normally arrive at work. I then saw my boss's boss there from Singapore, and her boss arrived from Australia, along with some folks from the regional HR office, so I knew something big was going on. Long story short, the company decided to close its operation in the country that I was living in, and we were all out of a job. I remember looking up at the ceiling and thinking to myself, my manifestation practice had backfired on me. I knew I needed a nudge to leave the comfort of my job, but I didn't want to do it this quickly without a new job in hand. This was a swift kick, and I wasn't prepared for it. I also realized my intentions were being manifested in some way, so I shouldn't give up on it and become negative. Instead, I decided to go with it, remain positive, and try to make the most of the situation. The company told us that we would be fairly compensated according to local labor laws. I honestly was expecting to only be offered 1 or maybe 2 months' salary as compensation. My boss took me to breakfast and told me I'm going to receive 2 years' compensation. I couldn't believe it. I was on a high. I got in a taxi when a customer, who was also a close friend of mine, called me and asked me about purchasing some products from our company. I explained that she needed to make the order within the next few weeks because the company was closing its operations in a month. She asked would I be out of a job, and when I told her yes, she also asked would I be interested in her job. She had taken on a new job just 6 months earlier, but she was finding it difficult to manage a team of Americans and thought a fellow American could do it more easily for cultural reasons. I said, well, let's meet up and talk about it. Honestly, I wasn't really all that excited about the job. She called me up about 10 minutes later and asked me if we could meet with our boss at 7 o'clock that night. I agreed, and after a 2-hour interview with the boss, I realized the job was actually pretty good, and it paid 85% more than my previous job did, and I only had to work 4 days a week. I remember going home and explaining all this to my wife late that night. You should have seen the ever-changing expressions on her face when I told her that I was let go at 7:30 in the morning, got 2 years' pay by 2 p.m., and got a new job paying 85% more than my previous job by 9 p.m. Click the link to find out how I lost it all and what essential lessons about manifestation it all taught me. It's a terrific insight you don't want to miss.